Ollie is still off on his trip to the beach or whatever it is he's doing, trying to get back together with Megan. So I've got the news again today, but don't worry, if you hate the sight of my face, he'll be back tomorrow. So for now, we've got a little bit of the news. Combine two different memes there. After making headlines for appearing at Impact Slammiversary pay-per-view, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson have been rather outspoken regarding their time in WWE. The pair were released as part of the mass firings in April earlier this year, and now that their 90-day non-compete clause has expired, it seems the filter is well and truly off. They, along with their OC stablemate AJ Styles, have torn into Paul Heyman, the former Raw executive director, calling him a liar, insinuating he would tell them he was fans of their work when he wasn't, and say anything he needed to get them on side. AJ even commented that he believed it was Paul Heyman who was responsible for Gallows and Anderson being released, as the original list of people to be fired supposedly didn't have their names on it until Heyman convinced Vince McMahon to include them. Styles claimed to have spoken to McMahon, who confirmed this to be the case. Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter highlighted the collective WWE locker room's reaction to Gallows and Anderson's claims, which weren't exactly positive. According to the report, a lot of the reaction to their comments was about how naive they must be to think it was Paul Heyman who made the call to fire them and not Vince McMahon. The report goes on to say that internally, two stories have been going around. One is that it was Vince's idea to fire Gallows and Anderson, but Heyman didn't fight to keep them. The other lines up with AJ's claim that the Good Brothers weren't on Vince's list of people to be released until a discussion with Heyman, at which point they were added. If this story is true, it would mean that Heyman informed Vince that he didn't have any plans for Gallows and Anderson going forwards, which in and of itself is a bit weird considering they're the best tag team in the world, they even have a trophy for it, but also because they could have easily shifted over to SmackDown with AJ and continued their OC run over there, considering they just appeared in the Night 1 main event of WrestleMania 36 in the Boneyard match. Luke Gallows also recently appeared on WrestleTalk in the D, which is not the URL for WrestleTalk's OnlyFans page, where he spoke to Marvez Ale and Jordan Gaber about re-signing with WWE last year. Gallows claims the final reason they decided to re-sign was to stick by AJ's side, a decision that AJ has now apologized for. He said he was sorry, which he didn't have to say, and I wasn't looking for an apology from him, but it's been well documented, and AJ said it himself over on his streaming service that he felt responsible for us staying when we wanted to leave, as, well, WWE kept wanting to pile more money. That wasn't the final reason we stayed. The reason we stayed was to be there and to roll with our buddy. For life. Good brothers. What do you think about this whole situation? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to people from outer somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. I mean, you've got to be somewhere. You can't be nowhere. You know what, that's something that's always really good. When AJ was traded over to SmackDown, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode were shunted over to Raw as a trade, because he's apparently worth two people. But now it seems a storyline involving the former of those two has been changed. On last week's episode of Raw, Dolph Ziggler came out to complain about his loss to Drew McIntyre at the horror show at Extreme Rules at AOL.com, attempting to goad McIntyre into one more match with him for the title. After McIntyre initially refused, Dolph then went into full-on begging mode, even allowing McIntyre to pick the stipulation. He just needed one more shot at the WWE Championship. Well, it sucks to be Dolph, I guess then, because that match now won't even be for the title. According to WWE.com, McIntyre and Ziggler will be facing off in a non-title rematch, going against everything that was said on last week's episode and the entire point of the match. And no, apparently, this wasn't just a vague insinuation that's been taken the wrong way, because the Wrestling Observer is reporting that this was a late change and the original plan was to have a title match. There's been no reason given as of the time of recording why plans seem to have changed for this match. Oh no. Does that mean that Ziggler's winning? Let's sure hope not if McIntyre's tease for the stipulation he's choosing comes to fruition, as the champ took to Twitter to throw out the idea of an eye for an eye match, as he heard someone in the crowd shout it last week. Go on, Rick Boogs. Dolph didn't think that was severe enough apparently, as he responded saying it should be a career versus career match. To which McIntyre then said it should be a hair versus hair match, complete with a picture of bald Dolph. But this storyline isn't the only one on Raw that's going through some changes, as the eye for an eye story continues. Rey Mysterio's son Dominic has been advertised to be on the show tonight to confront Seth Rollins, but last week it was Aleister Black who took a loss at the hands of Rollins thanks to a little Murphy interference too. Sportskeeda's Tom Colohue is reporting that Vince McMahon may be souring on Aleister Black, and that the successful push he was receiving before may be coming to an end. So let's just add that onto the total of dropped pushes this year alone. I think we're on about 72. Colohue said on the Dropkick Discussions podcast, to put it bluntly, Vince thinks that there's something missing about Aleister Black. It's similar to how he feels about Cesaro. While Cesaro has had a decent amount of success, former United States champion, current SmackDown Tag Team champion, it's far short of the push that was being lined up for him following the Andre the Giant Battle Royal win, and even shorter still of the general perceived ability of him. So it's not the most reassuring comparison to make. But speaking of title success, it wasn't all that long ago when Keith Lee captured the NXT Championship at NXT's Great American Bash Night 2 main event to determine the best wrestler in the world in the World Cup in Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. I lose titles sometimes. Crowning him NXT's first double champion, unless you include Adam Cole holding the tag belt and the North American belt at the same time, which you probably should. It was a surprising result, made slightly less surprising when a picture of Lee celebrating and holding both belts in the middle of the ring surfaced on social media the week before it actually aired. The picture came online courtesy of Saurav Gurjar, part of the Indus-Sher tag team, who quickly deleted the picture, but unfortunately, the damage had been done. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that at the latest set of TV tapings, Gurjar publicly apologized to the NXT locker room for spoiling the result. The report goes on to say that there is seemingly no significant heat on Gurjar, and there's no punishment expected to come because of the leak. Spoiling the result of the match may have actually worked in NXT's favor, with people seemingly tuning in to see Keith Lee pick up the titles, as that week's episode was one of NXT's most successful in recent times in terms of ratings. Last week's episode of SmackDown, that featured the bar fight between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy, also saw a rise in the ratings. According to overnight ratings, which can still change a little bit, last Friday's episode of SmackDown drew an average of 1.971 million viewers, up from the week's prior 1.912 million, getting ever closer to regaining that 2 million average, which SmackDown hasn't achieved since June. Advertised for next week's show is Bayley versus Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship, AJ Styles versus Grand Metalik for the Intercontinental Championship, and Lacey Evans versus Naomi, capitalizing on the Naomi Deserves Better hashtag. So perhaps Friday's episode could breach that milestone once again. But now we move over to Japan, and two of its major wrestling promotions, Pro Wrestling Noah and DDT, have announced a merger. You may know Noah for creating stars such as Kenta, the former Hideo Itami in WWE, while DDT was the breeding ground for names like Kenny Omega. Both promotions are owned by parent company Cyber Agent, and during a conference held earlier today, it was revealed that the two promotions will become one on September the 1st, complete with the very Japanese name of Cyber Fight. DDT is very well known for its comedic wrestling, and Cyber Agent has assured fans that the in-ring of each promotion will be totally unaffected by this transaction, and that the promotion's main goal is to run in the Tokyo Dome. If they do, you can bet Dave Meltzer will be rating their matches at least a star higher. While Kenny Omega may have started making a name for himself in DDT, including doing things such as wrestling a blow-up doll, he's now the executive vice president of AEW, where commentator Jim Ross has called out intergender wrestling because he doesn't think it's realistic. Right, but Rey Mysterio beating The Big Show is. Appearing on his own Grilling JR podcast, Ross stated, "If I had the pencil today, there is no effing way I would book intergender matches because I don't think they are logical." Just a quick reminder that the AEW roster has a dinosaur and a couple of undead demons under their employ. But they also have Chris Jericho under their employ, who on his Saturday night special show revealed that he was the one who booked Sammy Guevara's return angle from last week's episode of Dynamite, where Sammy was disguised disguised as Serpentico before unveiling his Spanish god face underneath. I booked it. I thought it was great. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. On the same show, Jericho was also asked about the possibility of ever returning to WWE, to which he gave an emphatic no. It's not going to happen. I really enjoy being in AEW. I loved my time in WWE. I love Vince McMahon. I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun, but listen, you can't stay in the same place forever. You become stagnant if you do, and I think you need to push yourself to do something new. The fact that AEW was live without a net when I first showed up, and all of us have done such a great job of promoting this brand and promoting this company. And the t-shirt company continues to live up to its name, as Jericho has now unveiled his latest piece of merch, a Demo God t-shirt, riffing off the famous Stone Cold 316, but replacing it with 1849. Okay, that's actually quite clever. I'll give you that one. Check out Adam Blompier's latest list of 12 wrestlers who terrified people backstage by pressing the video to the right now, and find out what huge WrestleMania 37 plans have been potentially revealed by pressing the video below it. Make sure to subscribe here for daily wrestling news and reviews. You can follow me on Twitter at PeteQuinnell and us at WrestleTalk_TV. And that was wrestling.